Did you see that too?
Yeah.
Disneyland is considered to be the happiest place on earth, whether you're just a baby who won't even remember the first time you visited, or like an old person who still finds the park magical place. Today I would like to talk to you how Disneyland has evolved throughout the years and the change it has made. Starting from when the park was built and how much people it brings in due to the popularity that it got and the changes it has made within the rides and attractions. First of all, I want to talk to you about how Disneyland was created. According to JustDisney.com, the whole person behind this is Walt Disney, and he came up with this idea when he took his two daughters to an amusement park and noticed how the parents were not doing anything, that they weren't having fun, and he also noticed how dirty and ugly it was, and that's what bugged him the most. And that's when he envisioned this place where both parents could have fun together, and this place is called Disneyland. To start this, he was very picky with the location. He wanted it in the Los Angeles area, because location was his top priority, and he wanted it to be accessible by the freeway, and the search ended up in Anaheim. The park began its construction on July 21st, 1954, and it opened to the public just a year later, on July 17th, 1955. Oh, wrong view. Oh, it's the wrong one. This picture is of Walt Disney on its opening day, and I want to share to you the speech he gave, and it was from DisneyDreamer.com. And the speech he said was, "To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land. Here age relives fond memories of the past, and here youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future. Disneyland is dedicated to the ideals, the dreams, and the hard facts that have created America, with hopes that it will be a source of joy and inspiration to all the world." The second topic I want to talk to you guys is how popular the park got. On the opening day, they sent out 6,000 invitations, but 22,000 more people showed up, and it was over capacity. But in just 10 years, amusement park had their 15 million visitors. And according to Themed Entertainment Association, roughly 14.7 million visited the park 2008. Within the park's attendance, I will talk to you about their busiest seasons, since a lot of people come daily basis. The two busiest seasons are the holiday and the summer season when the kids are out of school. Oh my God. This is a graph that shows their two busiest seasons, which these two are the holidays and this is the summer. As you can see, the holidays are their high peak seasons with about 70,000 visitors, and their summer seasons, which is a little below about 60,000. And according to just DisneyDreamer.com, the best time to go is during the week, which is Tuesday and Thursday, because of the least amount of crowd. And not the worst time, but the busiest to go is on Friday and Saturday, since they close later. The long weekends can be 3 times busier than regular weekends. Lastly, for almost 60 years, Disneyland has been around and has made major changes with their attractions. When the park first opened, only 18 attractions were available. And 20 years later, Space Mountain, Big Thunder, and Matterhorn, they were opened. And 1955, one of my favorites was added to Indiana Jones. And the biggest change they made to the park was adding a new ride, which was California Adventure. park they built. It's called the Paradise Pier. Kind of like symbolizes Santa Monica Pier. The new park opened in February 8, 2001, and it was divided in 7 different lands. One is Buena Vista Street, which is the entrance to the park and includes stores and quick service restaurants. And it represents the Los Angeles that Walt Disney saw when he first came to America, which was in the 1920s. And like I said, the visual theme that I just showed you was Paradise Pier, and it tributes to the beach side of California, to Santa Monica Pier. And the Bugs Land and the Cars Land are based on 2 Pixar films, which are Bugs Life and Cars. And the big change they made to the park was Cars Land, and it added the numerous radiator springs. And it is said to be like the centerpiece because of its thrilling and fast ride. Today I've discussed how Disneyland started and how much people it brings, and also the change it has made throughout the 50 years. And in conclusion, I consider Disneyland to be the happiest place on earth for me because of how young it makes me feel. Even with all the changes that they have made, it still makes me feel at ease. And it's hard to not be happy because of the positive vibe that the atmosphere gives off.
Jody, share with us your thoughts.
Okay, so the main idea was how Disneyland evolved over time and those changes. I like the structure and the information she had in the speech. I think that, just having, as far as visuals go and being able to share those effectively, knowing the technology around her, she could have done a little better with that. Not jumping around, adding things into a sentence, stopping mid-sentence to add something in, extra information or side information, because it kind of threw me off, and I'm sure it threw other people off as well. I did like the second visual. It kind of had a lot of information, but it did show showed high points and low points, and it's very easy to read and understand, for me at least. I think that the other 2 visuals were just pictures. I didn't get too much from them, but overall it wasn't too bad. I think the presentation was good. I think a little more practice and presentation skills. I think that it could be a little better.
Okay. Well, let me pick out a couple things that I think work well, and some of the things that you did that I liked, and then we'll talk about some of the things that are a little bit more critical. I thought at the beginning you've got a nice reference to the happiest place on earth quote, and you do a nice job kind of setting up the subject for us, and whether it is, like you said, an older person's remembrance of their times coming here, or whether it's, that infant who's never going to remember being there later on. People just seem to have this feeling about going to Disneyland that's unique. And I like the idea that you're going to focus on sort of that unique feeling that's going on. I think you had a pretty good identification of what your purpose statement was, and there was an okay justification for the beginning of the speech. Let's face it, we're in Southern California, and Disneyland's a pretty important part of our culture here. I do think that when it comes to audience analysis, though, it's a little problematic, because I would guess, well, I got to be honest, I'm not sure I heard anything new in your presentation. I think a visitor, anybody who'd been to Disneyland, would have a pretty good idea about everything that you said, except, the dates that you had, what the heavy impact dates are on those kinds of things. I think even the story about Walt Disney taking his kids to another amusement park and being kind of disappointed and discussing that experience and using that as a justification for starting the new park, I think that's a pretty familiar story to people. It just feels like I'm hearing about, I'm on the tour, and it's my 10th time on the tour and I'm hearing the same story. This is an audience that's going to be familiar with this subject. You got to give us something new. You got to give us something a little bit different about this. All right. Now, I did think that you did a good job also citing your sources for the most part. You mentioned the website 2 or 3 times that you got information from. I thought that that was very solid, and you did a good job on that. You did find some things that were interesting in the way that you visualize it, and I think you do kind of perk up and talk about the magic and the way people respond to it, and that's a good thing. That helps to keep us involved. It felt to me like I'm going to talk about the evolution of Disneyland. I went from the opening of the park to the opening of California Adventure as if that happened the next week. I didn't really hear much change about what took place between 1955 and 2001. Is the park exactly, you said they started with 18 attractions and then they added a few things as they went along. Well, that's the stuff that I think might have been interesting. When did those things get added to the park? What did it do to the park in terms of attendance? How did they manage to, I'm trying to figure out. I understand how Pixar movies got involved in this because Disney financed Pixar and now Pixar bought Disney. It's like they have this whole relationship. What the hell is Indiana Jones and Star Wars doing at Disneyland? There's a reason that those things happened, but we don't find anything about those kinds of things. Are those original 18 attractions still there at the park, or are they gone? Have they been replaced by something, or have they been modernized in some way? When you talk about, I'm going to talk about the evolution of the park, I think that's the kind of stuff that would make it a little bit more interesting. It just seemed like it's kind of mundane in the way that you've talked about the park. I would agree with Jody's comment. It was Jody, yeah. Jody's comment about the one visual. That's the one that I thought stood out the best about what the most popular times at the park were and. When the heaviest traffic was. I think that's the one that gave us the most information. The visual at the beginning with Walt Disney, it's okay. I mean, it doesn't hurt anything, but it doesn't add much to it. The visual at the end with the California Adventure, is it Paradise Pier? That's nice and it's a little bit evocative, but again, I'm not sure that it adds any information to the presentation. And of course, I've seen them 6 times during the presentation because you've gone through, you needed to practice that a lot. You seem unfamiliar with how it works. You needed to practice it. You needed to do it at home. Even though the projection thing, you can't do that. That's only one aspect of what's going on. You had to start the slideshow every time you went back to it. You didn't seem like you had any idea how the slideshow worked, so I got to start it over again, and that becomes a little bit awkward. And of course, every time you do that, we're seeing the pictures again, and it just feels, it reflects a lack of preparation. And you want to be prepared when you stand up to speak to an audience, even if you're not. You want to pretend like you are, and you just kind of let those things get you a little panic-stricken, I think. All right, thank you.